Title: My spouse refused me closeness. Every evening after our wedding for an entire month. When I questioned her, she declared, "My body, my decision, you have no claim." So I sought to have the marriage annulled through the courts. What unfolded next was entirely unforeseen. Chapter 1. The Frigid Evenings. The wedding was a blur of joy, smiles, warm wishes from kin, and snapshots that seemed to promise eternity. I genuinely believed we were embarking on a journey of love, unity, and intimacy. But the nights that followed painted a starkly different picture. Each evening, I reached for her, craving connection. And each evening, she turned away. Sometimes she said she was exhausted, other times unwell, or she simply scrolled through her phone until sleep claimed her, its screen more significant than me. Initially, I was understanding. I thought marriage required time, adaptation, and patience. But as days stretched into weeks, that understanding soured into bewilderment, then anguish. On the 30th night, I finally spoke. My tone wasn't angry. It was desperate. "We've been wed for a month, and you've not once been close to me. What's happening?" Her reply wasn't hesitation or remorse. It was a cold, cutting dismissal. "My body, my decision, you have no claim." The frost in her gaze broke something within me. That night, as she slept without a care, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She hadn't just withheld intimacy. She'd denied me respect, affection, and partnership. In that quiet, I made a decision. I would go to court, not to plead for her love, but to end this marriage completely. Because if this was her idea of marriage, I wanted no part of it. Little did I know, my choice would spark a series of events none of us anticipated. And when the truth emerged, it wasn't just about intimacy. It was about deception, avarice, and the retribution she never expected. Chapter 2. The Courtroom Unveiling. The courthouse carried a faint scent of old paper and dust, a place where lives were reshaped with ink and signatures. I entered with a firm stride, my heart heavy but resolute. I wasn't there to argue, beg, or hold on. I was there to let go. She arrived late, clad in a costly outfit, her expression sharp and self-assured. To her, this was just another act, one she was convinced she'd master. When the judge inquired why I sought annulment so soon after the wedding, she sneered. "He's impatient. I just needed space. Truthfully, Your Honor, he's not the victim. He's erratic, demanding, and manipulative. I can't live with someone like that." She glanced at me, certain she'd sealed my fate. When my turn came, I stood calmly, my voice even. "Your Honor, I entered this marriage with honest intentions. For 30 nights straight, I was denied not just closeness, but any trace of warmth. When I asked why, my wife stated, 'My body, my decision. You have no claim.'" The courtroom murmured. The judge leaned in, his brow creasing. Then I added softly but firmly, "This isn't solely about intimacy. It's about respect, trust, and the core of marriage. And I have reason to suspect she never meant to be a true spouse to me. She had other motives, financial ones." Her head whipped toward me, her eyes widening for the first time. Her confidence faltered, because what she didn't know was that I'd discovered her messages. Conversations with her so-called friends where she boasted about marrying for wealth and keeping him at a distance until the money's secured. As the bailiff prepared the evidence I'd submitted, the judge's gavel struck once, sharp and authoritative. "We'll examine these messages." Her smug facade cracked. And that's when I realized this court wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about revealing the truth and watching her own lies bury her. Chapter 3. The Proof Revealed. The courtroom fell silent as the bailiff handed the judge a stack of papers, printed screenshots of messages she thought would remain hidden forever. The judge adjusted his glasses and read aloud. "Don't worry, ladies. I didn't marry him for love. I just needed the stability. Once I access his accounts, he'll be nothing but a tool. Gasps echoed through the room. My wife paled, her hands shaking against the table. The judge turned to another page. A month of rejection will keep him off kilter. He'll be too frantic to challenge me when I take control of the finances. It's my body, my decision. But it's also my scheme, whispers spread. Even her lawyer shifted uncomfortably, clearly unprepared. She tried to speak, her voice faltering. We're just playful texts to friends. He's distorting them. But the judge silenced her with a sharp tap of the gavel. Enough. These are your words. This court will treat them as evidence of intent. The judge turned to me, his tone resolute. Given the evidence, this court questions the validity of this marriage and the respondent's good faith. We will proceed accordingly. I didn't smirk. I didn't gloat. I sat in silence, letting the weight of her betrayal crush her. What began as her arrogant attempt to undermine my dignity had turned against her, and she had no idea this was just the start, because I had one more piece of evidence that would shatter her facade completely. Chapter 4. The Secret Clause. The courtroom was already thick with murmurs, but I wasn't done. I had held back one final piece, one she never imagined I'd uncover. Weeks before filing, I'd reviewed our wedding documents. Among them was something most would overlook. The marriage contract addendum, which she'd urged me to sign without scrutiny. She'd called it a mere formality, but I'd read it, and consulted a lawyer. Hidden in the fine print was a clause added by her attorney at her behest. If the marriage ended due to fraud, deceit, or bad faith, she would forfeit all rights to shared assets and repay any gifts or financial support received during the marriage. She was so sure I'd never challenge her. She didn't realize she'd signed her own downfall. I stood and handed the document to the judge. My lawyer explained the clause clearly, citing the messages as proof of her deceptive intent. The judge read the addendum twice, his expression stern. Then he fixed his gaze on her. You attempted to mislead this court. Worse, you sought to deceive your spouse from the start. This contract is binding. The petitioner is relieved of all financial obligations. The respondent forfeits her claims immediately. Her gasp pierced the silence. She stood, trembling, shouting desperately at the judge. No! This isn't just. He tricked me. This isn't what I intended. But it was too late. The gavel struck. The courtroom doors might as well have closed on the life she thought she'd secured. She had tried to use the law to drain me. Instead, the law became the weapon that dismantled her plans. And while she stormed out, her reputation collapsing, I walked out calmly. This was never about winning her back. It was about reclaiming my honor, and she had handed me the tool to undo her. Chapter 5. The Social Repercussions. The legal ruling was crushing enough for her, but the shame didn't end in court. Gossip travels fast in tight-knit circles. Her friends, the ones she bragged to in group chats, got hold of the court documents. The screenshots of her boasting, "I only married him for security," spread like wildfire. The women who once envied her perfect marriage now ridiculed her privately. Some cut contact entirely, unwilling to be linked to a woman exposed for plotting against her husband. Her parents, once proud to flaunt her as the daughter who married well, were furious. They had defended her character, supported her choices. Now, they faced whispers themselves. At a family gathering I didn't attend, her uncle reportedly slammed his fist on the table, demanding, "Do you understand the disgrace you've brought on us?" From then on, even her kin kept her at a distance. She worked at a mid-sized company where reputation was as vital as performance. Once the truth spread, colleagues whispered in hallways, and her boss summoned her. Though they couldn't fire her for her marriage scandal, promotions and opportunities vanished. Clients refused to have her name on their accounts. The glamorous life she envisioned, built on my efforts and her manipulation, was gone. And the bitter irony? She had rejected me night after night, claiming it was her body, her decision. But in the end, the real decision wasn't hers. The law, her family, her friends, her career, they all chose to cast her out. She was alone, stripped of the very stability she had schemed to gain. Chapter 6. The Ultimate Reckoning. Months had passed since the court ended our marriage, but her shadow lingered in rumors and headlines. Still, I hadn't delivered the final blow, the one that would echo back to that first night of rejection and seal her fate entirely. One evening, at a restaurant I frequented for work dinners, I saw her. She sat alone at a corner table, hair disheveled, her phone untouched beside her. The once confident woman who had mocked me now seemed a hollow version of herself. When our eyes met, she stood quickly, hurrying over. "Please, can we speak?" Just for a moment, her voice was soft, broken. "I've lost everything. My family won't speak to me. My friends have abandoned me. At work, they overlook me like I'm invisible. I thought I was being strong, independent. But I see now. I ruined us." Tears streamed down her face, but they didn't sway me. Not anymore. I set my napkin down, met her gaze, and said calmly, "You told me. My body, my decision. You have no claim. And you were right. You made your decision. Now you're living with it." Her lips trembled. She reached for my hand, but I stood and stepped back. As I left the restaurant, I felt no anger.
Only clarity. She had wanted a marriage of convenience, a life of control and manipulation. But she misjudged the one truth she couldn't escape. True strength lies in integrity, not deceit. In the end, she didn't just lose me. She lost her family, her friends, her reputation, and the life she thought she was owed. I had sought annulment to escape her trap, but what I gained was freedom, dignity, and a future unmarred by her greed. Poetic justice. She denied me love, respect, and closeness. In return, life denied her the security, reputation, and comfort she thought she'd ensured. Was this retribution wholly deserved? Share your thoughts on this story in the comments below. If you believe this tale is justified, like it, share it with someone who needs this energy, and follow Lauren's stories for more gripping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every deception meets its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its consequence. Stay sharp, stay resilient, and stay tuned.